She thought it was just another quiet afternoon until she heard the creak of the back door. But the man in black had no idea she wasn't alone. He didn't know about the German shepherd watching his every move, ready to strike. In seconds, the intruder learned he had just made the biggest mistake of his life by choosing this house. What happened next shocked everyone. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Alright, let's get started. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon, sunlight spilling through the living room window and painting warm patterns on the wooden floor. Claire sat curled up on the couch, a cup of tea in one hand and a book in the other, savoring the rare peace. At her feet lay Max, her 4-year-old German shepherd, stretched out but with eyes half open, his ears twitching at every faint sound. He wasn't just a pet. He was her protector, her shadow, and her closest friend. Outside, the neighborhood was still, the kind of stillness that made you believe nothing could go wrong. Claire glanced at Max, smiling at how calm he looked. In her mind, this was just another ordinary day. But beneath that calm exterior, Max's instincts were always working. He was listening, sensing, waiting, and soon the peace would shatter in a way neither of them could have imagined. The clock had just struck 2 when Max's head suddenly lifted. His ears snapped forward and his body stiffened like a coiled spring. Claire noticed the change instantly. Her gentle, lounging dog was now alert, every muscle tense. At first, she thought it might just be the mailman, but there was something in Max's expression that made her heart skip. His gaze was fixed on the front door, nostrils flaring as he caught a scent the human nose couldn't detect. Then, faintly, Claire heard it too. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching softly against the gravel path. Whoever it was, they weren't knocking. They were creeping. Max stood, his paws silent, against the floor, tail held low but rigid. His eyes never left the entryway. Claire's pulse quickened. Deep down she knew this wasn't a friendly visit. Something or someone was about to cross a line they'd regret. The next sound was unmistakable. A faint metallic click. The doorknob jiggled, followed by the slow creak of hinges. Claire froze, her breath catching in her throat. Someone was inside. Max moved like lightning, placing himself between Claire and the doorway. His hackles rose and a deep growl rumbled from his chest, low and steady, vibrating through the air like a warning siren. A shadow stepped into the living room. A man dressed in black from head to toe, his face hidden beneath a ski mask. His eyes darted between Claire and Max, clearly startled to find them there. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the man took a step forward. That was his mistake. Max's growl grew louder, sharper, his body crouching low, like a predator, ready to strike. Claire could feel the tension radiating off him. The intruder had no idea what was about to hit him. Max's growl deepened into something primal, an instinct older than the walls around them. His body stiffened, tail straight, ears pinned forward, every muscle locked on the mask. Man Claire's heart pounded so loudly, she was sure the intruder could hear it. She whispered, "Max, stay." But the word came out shaky, betraying her fear. Max didn't move from his position, yet his stance screamed readiness. The man paused, tilting his head as if weighing his chances. He glanced toward the front door, then back at Max, and Claire swore she saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Max took a slow step forward, his claws clicking softly against the hardwood, his lips curling back to reveal sharp, white teeth. The sound that followed was more than a growl. It was a promise. Claire realized this wasn't just a warning. Max was telling the intruder, "Leave now or face him." The intruder's hesitation shattered in an instant. He lunged forward thinking speed could outmatch muscle, but Max had been waiting. With a flash of fur and power, the German Shepherd launched himself across the room, closing the gap before Claire could even scream. The man stumbled backward, shocked by the sudden attack, but Max's teeth grazed his sleeve, ripping the fabric and pulling him off balance. The sound of the tear was sharp, but it was nothing compared to the deep, furious bark that followed. Claire's legs felt rooted to the floor, torn between running for the phone and not leaving Max's side. The intruder cursed under his breath, swinging an arm wildly to keep the dog back, but Max's relentless snaps and growls drove him further away from Claire. In that moment, she realized this wasn't just defense. Max was fighting for her life. The intruder's face twisted with rage as Max drove him toward the wall. His eyes darted around the room, searching for something, anything he could use to regain control. Then his hand shot out, grabbing a heavy vase from the side table. Claire's heart lurched. "Max!" she shouted, but the warning came too late. The man swung the vase downward, but Max's reflexes were quicker. With a low, guttural growl, the dog dodged and came up from the side, snapping at the man's wrist. The vase slipped from his grip and shattered on the floor, shards scattering across the rug. The crash seemed to fuel Max's determination. The intruder's confidence faltered. His breathing turned rapid, his movements clumsy. Claire's pulse thundered in her ears, but she could see it now. Max was gaining the upper hand, and in that split second, the hunter became the hunted. The intruder stumbled backward, his heel catching on the edge of the rug. Max seized the moment, lunging forward with all the strength in his powerful frame. The man fell hard, his back slamming against the wooden floor. Claire's hands trembled, but she didn't look away. This wasn't just a fight. It was survival. Max positioned himself over the man's chest, his teeth bared, a deep growl rumbling from his throat like distant thunder. "Call him off," the intruder gasped, his voice cracking with panic. But Claire knew better. Max wasn't going to move until the threat was gone. From outside, faint sirens began to wail, growing louder with each second. The man's eyes darted toward the front door, his face draining of color. For the first time that night, Claire felt a flicker of safety. Help was coming, but Max had already made sure they'd both lived to see it. Max's growl didn't fade until the front door burst open and two officers stormed in, weapons drawn. "It's okay, boy," Claire whispered, her voice shaking as she knelt beside him. Max glanced at her, then back at the intruder, still pinned to the floor, before slowly stepping back. The officers hauled the man to his feet, cuffing him as he muttered incoherently about just wanting money. Claire's knees felt weak, but she stayed standing, her hand resting on Max's back like an anchor. One officer turned to her. If it weren't for him, this could have ended very differently. Claire's eyes glistened. She looked down at Max, her protector, her hero, and realized she'd never truly understood the depth of his loyalty until tonight. And Max, he simply wagged his tail. Mission accomplished. When the sirens faded and the cruiser pulled away with the intruder inside, an almost unsettling quiet settled over the house. Claire sank into the couch, her hands still trembling. Max patted over and rested his massive head on her lap, his warm breath grounding her in the present. She stroked his fur slowly, her mind replaying the moment he had launched himself at the stranger without hesitation. The thought of what could have happened if he hadn't been there made her shiver. In the dim glow of the lamp, Max's amber eyes met hers, steady, watchful, and calm now that the danger had passed. Claire leaned forward, pressing her forehead gently against his. "You saved my life," she whispered. Max gave a soft huff, as if to say it was nothing, but Claire knew this night had changed everything between them forever.